Hello, boxing fans. In this video, we dive into the most unbreakable records in boxing history. Numbers so insane, you'd think they were made up. From fights on horse-drawn trains to champs who fought more rounds in 1 month than today's fighters do in their careers. These records are the stuff of legend. So grab your gloves, lace up, and let's step into boxing's time machine, because these are the boxing records that will never be broken. Let's start with the old mongoose, Archie Moore. This man didn't just fight, he dismantled. In his 28-year career, Moore recorded 131 knockouts, the most KOs in professional boxing history. To put that in perspective, most top-level boxers today barely reach 40 fights total in a career. Some retire after 30, and even among KO artists like Mike Tyson or Gennady Golovkin, nobody even comes close to 131. What makes this record unbreakable? Simple. Modern boxing careers are shorter, safer, and way more protected. Fighters fight 1 to 2 times a year, max. Back in Moore's day, they fought monthly, sometimes weekly. The man KO'd legends and journeymen alike and never ducked a fight. He even held a win over future champ Cassius Clay's sparring partner at age 45. 131 knockouts? In today's world, you'd need 3 careers, a time machine, and a chin made of granite to even attempt that. If you think Archie Moore fought a lot, meet Len Wickwar, a British boxer who holds the record for most professional fights in history, 470 fights between 1928 and 1947. That's not a typo. 470. Len would fight 3 to 4 times a week during some stretches of his career. People complain today if a fighter takes a fight on short notice. Wickwar sometimes had fights booked on the same day, just hours apart. Out of those 470 fights, he won 340 with 93 KOs. Why is this unbreakable? Modern boxing is built around long-term health, promoters, TV contracts, medical suspensions, things that didn't exist in Wickwar's era. Today, you fight twice a year max. Wickwar would have laughed and said, "That's a lazy week." Before Mayweather had the 50-0, there was Jimmy Wild, the original ghost with a hammer in his hand. Wild went 103-0-1 before tasting his first real loss. That's right. 103 wins, no defeats. He fought in the early 1900s as a flyweight, but had the punching power of a welterweight, one of the smallest men in the ring and yet one of the deadliest. Compare that to modern fighters where reaching 30-0 is considered elite. Even Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., with his amazing 87-0 start, didn't match Wild's early run. This record is unbreakable because boxers today don't take 100 fights. The structure just doesn't allow it, and even if they did, going unbeaten through 103 of them, good luck. Let's talk about Wilfred Benitez, the Puerto Rican genius. At just 17 years old, he became the youngest world champion in boxing history. 17. Most kids are studying for exams. Benitez was outsmarting grown men in the ring and winning belts. He beat Antonio Cervantes, a seasoned world champion, at just 17, and didn't just win, he outboxed him. With modern regulations, athletic commissions, and age limits, it's basically impossible today for a 17-year-old to even turn pro, let alone win a world title. Today's prospects are carefully developed over years. Unless a future prodigy legally changes their age, this record is sealed in stone. If age is just a number, George Foreman proved it in thunderous fashion. At 45 years old, Big George became the oldest heavyweight champion in history when he knocked out Michael Moorer in 1994. And it wasn't luck. It was a calculated, calm, devastating KO. He wore Moorer down and detonated a right hand from the gods. Foreman had retired a decade earlier, came back for fun, and ended up making history, all while wearing trunks that looked like your uncle's barbecue apron. Nobody since has even come close at heavyweight. And in lower weight classes, even more impossible, due to speed and stamina loss. In the era of young lions, Foreman's feat stands as a towering reminder. Legends age differently. Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber, didn't just win, he ruled. He was world heavyweight champion for nearly 12 straight years, from 1937 to 1949. That's 11 years and 8 months of dominance. No slipping, no ducking. Just defending the title 25 times, a record in itself. Modern fighters rarely even keep a title for 2 years without switching divisions, dodging mandatories, or getting stripped. Joe Louis held onto the throne through World War II, race riots, political pressure, and every top contender that came his way. Unless someone gets a time machine and a titanium jaw, this record will never be touched. And then, the fighting pride of the Philippines, Manny Pacquiao, did the unthinkable. He became the only boxer in history to win world titles in 8 weight divisions, from flyweight, 112 pounds, to super welterweight, 154 pounds. Think about that. That's like a featherweight becoming a middleweight and still smoking everyone in sight. He didn't just move up, he dominated. Most fighters move up 1 or 2 divisions at most. Manny went up 8, fought legends in every class, and still had knockout power. No one before him has done it. No one after him will. The sport has changed, and Pacquiao's record is 1 of 1. While not as ancient as others, Lomachenko's record is absurd in its own way. He won 3 world titles in just 12 pro fights. Most boxers are still learning how to walk to the ring in their 12th fight. Lomachenko was dominating world-class opposition with footwork from a different dimension. This record is nearly impossible because it requires an Olympic-level amateur pedigree, fighting champions immediately, and winning immediately. Unless another amateur GOAT comes along and skips the tune-ups, this record is staying put. And then there comes Muhammad Ali. He didn't just beat people, he beat history. He is the only man to regain the heavyweight title 3 separate times. First from Sonny Liston, then from George Foreman, and finally Leon Spinks. And mind you, each time he came back, the odds were stacked against him. Suspensions, aging, exile, political pressure didn't matter. The heavyweight division is the hardest place to stay on top. Yet Ali kept coming back like a man possessed. Others have tried, but no one has done it 3 times. That number 3, it's sacred now. Last but not least, the Mexican Warrior King, Julio Cesar Chavez. He started his career 87-0 before finally taking a draw against Pernell Whitaker, and then a loss much later, 87 wins. Today, an undefeated record of 25-0 gets you a world title shot. Chavez fought for years before anyone could even challenge his streak. He wasn't padding his record either. He fought killers, champions, and legends in Mexico and the US. All action. No ducking. To beat this record today, a fighter would have to go 30-0, 3 times, without a loss, injury, or promotional mess. Not happening. These are more than numbers. They're monuments of grit, toughness, and sheer madness. The kind of records that could only exist in the wild, old days of boxing, or by legends who bent reality to their will. But hold up, we're not done yet. Think we covered all the madness boxing history has to offer? Think again. Let me introduce you to Billy Bird, the most overlooked knockout machine in boxing history. While everyone talks about Tyson's ferocity or Foreman's power, Bird quietly racked up 138 knockouts. That's right, more than Archie Moore. Bird fought from 1920 to 1948 and totaled 356 fights in his career. He was the human definition of smoke on sight. Step into the ring with him, and odds were you were waking up asking what day it was. The reason this record is nearly forgotten, he wasn't flashy, he wasn't American. But 138 knockouts is a number that's almost alien in today's world. Can it be broken? In the modern era of 30-fight careers and promotional protection, not a chance. Now let's talk Harry Greb, the Pittsburgh Windmill. This man was like if a blender grew legs and wore boxing gloves. Greb fought 299 times between 1913 and 1926, with an official record of 261 wins. But here's the kicker. He fought with only one eye for the latter half of his career. That's right. After losing sight in his right eye from a detached retina, Greb didn't retire. He kept fighting. Not only fighting, but beating legends like Gene Tunney. Today, a fighter gets a sore knuckle and pulls out of a match. Greb was out here fighting champions blind. There's not a fighter today, not one, who could do what he did. The man literally had to fake eye exams just to keep his license. In a sport where sight is everything, Greb fought blind and still whooped everyone. Try topping that. Now for a record so insane it sounds made up. Jack Britton, the welterweight wizard, fought 37 world title fights. Yes, 37. That's more title fights than most modern boxers have total fights. From 1915 to 1922, Britton defended or challenged for a world title constantly. No tune-ups, no soft touches, just back-to-back smoke. Today's champions might defend a belt once or twice a year, if that. Britton treated title bouts like sparring sessions. Imagine doing that today. Mandatory challengers every 8 weeks, no breaks, no belts changing hands through email. Impossible. This man wasn't just consistent, he was relentless. And here's one for the heavyweights. Sam Langford, the Boston Bone Crusher. Pound for pound, he might be the most avoided fighter in history. Why? Because nobody wanted that smoke. Langford fought in every division from lightweight to heavyweight and knocked out men in every one. He was only 5'7", yet he was flattening full-sized heavyweights like it was a warm-up. He fought Hall of Famers 14, 15, even 20 times because the champions wouldn't give him a shot at the belt. Jack Johnson ducked him. Promoters ducked him. The system ducked him. And yet Langford built a record with 126 KOs and over 200 fights. He's the greatest world champion who never got a belt. That level of skill, power, and perseverance will never be seen again. Oh, and then there's the weirdest one of all, George Old Bones Dixon, the first black world champion in boxing history and the first man to win a world title in 2 different weight classes. Dixon was a genius of movement, and he invented shadowboxing, literally creating a training method that every boxer uses to this day. Shadowboxing, bro. That came from Dixon. Talk about legacy. Today's fighters shadowbox in $200 gear, but they don't even know who created it. Dixon fought over 160 times, made the sport more scientific, and did it in an era where racial discrimination was at its peak. Not only did he win, he changed the way boxing is taught. That's not just a record, that's history stamped in every gym in the world. And if all this wasn't crazy enough, consider Mike Tyson's 19 consecutive knockouts to start his career, most of them ending in the first round. Tyson didn't just beat you, he vaporized you before your corner even sat down. That kind of tear in the heavyweight division hasn't been seen before or since. 19 straight knockouts to start a career? That's not just dominance, that's a statement from hell. So yeah, boxing's history isn't just deep, it's deranged. It's filled with fighters who ignored logic, broke their bodies, shattered norms, and did things that defy modern comparison. These aren't just records, they're monuments to chaos, grit, and violence, built one punch at a time. In today's landscape of PPVs, social media beefs, and padded records, these stories feel like folklore. But they're real. They happened. And they remind us what it really means to step into the ring and chase immortality. Not for clout, but for legacy. Now I ask you, which one of these records hit you the hardest? Drop it in the comments, hit that like button, and if you're a real boxing fan, subscribe. Because here, we don't just talk about the sport, we honor the madness behind it. So when we talk about these records, we're not just talking about numbers, we're talking about eras, about a different breed of fighter, and a sport that was just as much about survival as it was about skill. Archie Moore didn't have performance coaches. Len Wickwar didn't have sponsorship deals. Jimmy Wilde didn't have highlight reels. They had grit, they had pride. And they had a pair of gloves in a world that didn't care if they made it home in one piece. And yet, they carved their names into history. Today's boxing is different. Fighters are more protected, careers are more calculated, and everything, from matchmaking to media, is handled with precision, which isn't a bad thing. It's safer, more sustainable, and in many ways, smarter. But it also means those wild records, those brutal schedules, and those legendary streaks, they belong to a world we're never going back to. A world where a 17-year-old could outbox a world champion, where a heavyweight could come out of retirement at 45 and still be king, where champions didn't care about zeros on their record, they cared about respect. And maybe that's what these records really are, reminders of how far we've come and how raw and unforgiving the sport once was. They remind us of the beauty in chaos, the poetry in punishment, the nobility in taking the hard road again and again and again. Records are meant to be broken, that's what people say. But some of these, they're carved in granite. They're the stories old trainers still tell in gyms, the black and white clips fight nerds stay up late watching, the kinds of feats that make you say, how the hell did they do that? And the truth is, they might never be done again. Not because no one's talented enough, but because the world around boxing has changed too much to let it happen. So here's to the ghosts of the ring, the men who punched their way into immortality, fighters who didn't have fancy intros or TikTok followers, just hands, heart, and history. If you made it this far into the video, you're not just a fan, you're a boxing soul. And I salute you. Drop a comment and let me know which record shocked you the most, or if there's one I missed that you think belongs on this list. Hit that like button if you respect the old school, Subscribe if you want more real boxing stories. And until next time, keep your hands up, protect yourself at all times, and never forget where this sport came from. Peace, champs.